Today, cake is an important part of wedding ceremonies around the world. And when it comes to members of the British royal family, it becomes a work of art. It is also associated with special national traditions. A royal wedding cake is not just a dessert, but an architectural marvel covered in icing. It weighs between 130 and 230 kilograms, consists of several tiers, and is decorated with intricate patterns, monograms, and symbols. Queen Victoria started the trend of huge wedding cakes. At her wedding to Prince Albert in 1840, guests were offered a three-tiered cake weighing almost 140 kilograms, decorated with flowers, glazed twigs, and even busts of the couple themselves on top, a true gastronomic monument to love. Since then, no royal wedding has been complete without a masterpiece cake. At the wedding of Edward VII and Princess Alexandra of Denmark in 1863, the cake was decorated with entire gardens of flowers. The cake for George VI and Lady Elizabeth Bowes Lyon, the future Queen Mother, who married in 1923, was almost 3 meters high and resembled a fanciful, edible palace. The first tier featured glazed replicas of Windsor Castle and St. George's Chapel, Washkaru, while the second tier featured Glamis Castle, where the bride grew up. This architectural extravaganza was crowned with cupids with miniature silver bells. The cake is often created by court chefs, but now newlyweds from the royal family can choose independent confectioners to their liking. For example, at the grand wedding of Diana and Prince Charles in 1981, there were 23 cakes to feed 3,500 guests. The main cake was a fruitcake created by David Avery, a baker at the Royal Naval Culinary School. The cake for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's wedding was created by Claire Patak, an American living in London with a reputation as a rebel in the world of confectionery. Instead of a classic fruitcake, she proposed a lemon and elderflower cake, covered it with silky cream, and decorated it with fresh flowers, as an ode to spring and the couple's freshness. This breach of tradition greatly upset representatives of the English aristocracy. But times are changing. Prince William and Kate Middleton, on the other hand, chose a classic, a handmade fruitcake from court chef Fiona Cairns, who spent 5 weeks working on the 8-tiered structure, almost a meter high. Each tier was decorated with molded lilies of the valley, echoing details of Catherine's wedding dress, and 17 shades of sugar paste were used in the cake's preparation, symbolizing the colors of England, Scotland, Wales, and Ireland. The top tier was decorated with the couple's monogram, as on a family crest. After the wedding, pieces of cake are sent to relatives, distinguished subjects of the kingdom, and charitable organizations. This tradition was established by Queen Elizabeth II and Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. In 1947, their wedding cake was almost 3 meters high and weighed 220 kilograms. 2,000 pieces were given to the guests at the ceremony, and hundreds more were packed in elegant boxes with monograms and sent throughout the country. In this way, royal love became the property of the people. Since the 19th century, the British aristocracy has had a tradition of saving a piece of cake to eat at the christening of their firstborn child. Cakes with dried fruit and dense dough, to which alcohol, rum, brandy, sherry was added, were popular at the time. They were perfectly preserved thanks to the alcohol and sugar, tightly wrapped in cloth or wax paper, and stored in cool pantries. In modern terms, it is not exactly a cake, but a cupcake. Elizabeth II and Philip made this tradition particularly prestigious. They kept the top tier of their cake until the christening of their firstborn, Prince Charles, a year after their wedding. Today, it is much easier than before to store a cake in powerful freezers, even if it has cream. However, nowadays, when people often postpone having children for several years, it is simply eaten on the wedding anniversary. This symbolizes the strength and success of the union, and British monarchs continue to observe the tradition. It is considered bad form to eat a piece of cake received as a gift from a royal wedding. When such a dessert is received, it is usually carefully stored in its original packaging, in refrigerators, safes, or display cases under glass. Some collectors even insure these pieces as if they were family jewels. Their heirs sell them at auctions, with Julian's auction house becoming the most popular market for such relics. For example, in 2021, a piece from the wedding of Prince Charles and Lady Diana, which had been lying in a box for 40 years, went under the hammer for £2,500. What the buyer did with it is unknown, but we would like to believe that they did not consume it. Furniture restorer Nigel Ricketts, who worked at the court, presented the newlyweds Charles and Diana with an antique table and kept a piece of their cake for himself in a commemorative box labeled Buckingham Palace. After his death in 2022, the relic was sold at auction for a symbolic sum of just £170. However, it did not look very good at that point. In 2024, a rare item was put up for auction, a piece of cake from the wedding of Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, dated 1947. It was preserved by Marion Paulson, a housekeeper at Holyrood House Palace, who was personally given the cake as a gift. The piece was kept in her family for 77 years before being sold to an anonymous buyer from China for $2,800. One of the heaviest and most expensive surviving pieces of cake was the one given to Moira Smith, who worked for the Queen Mother. Weighing about 700 grams and decorated with a coat of arms, decorative foliage, and a glazed horseshoe, it had been kept in her family for a long time and looked almost fresh. After the owner's death, it was sold for $2,565. The new owner, collector Jerry Layton, announced that the cake would take pride of place in his collection of royal relics. But the record holder in terms of price to date is a piece of William and Kate's fruit wedding cake. In 2014, it was sold for $7,500. The 3-year-old cake was packed in a tin box with personalized wishes from the couple. Interestingly, the lot was put up for auction by the couple themselves, either ironically or with subtle calculation.